In a bustling Nigerian market, there was a man named Obinna. He was a butcher by trade, making a living by cutting and selling meat. Every day, Obinna worked tirelessly from sunrise to sunset, trying to earn enough to support his family. But despite his hard work, life wasn't easy. The market was crowded with other butchers, each of them competing to sell their meat. The fierce competition made it difficult for Obinna to earn enough money to meet his family's needs. Obinna lived with his wife, Ezin, and their young son. His son attended school, but the fees were expensive, and Obinna constantly worried about how he would continue to pay for them. He longed for a better future for his son, one where his child wouldn't have to struggle as much as he did. But with the little money Obinna made from selling meat, that dream seemed far out of reach. Each morning, Obinna woke up before dawn, sharpened his knives, and set up his stall in the market. He would carefully arrange his meat, hoping to attract customers. But more often than not, people would walk past his stall and buy from other butchers. This left Obinna feeling disheartened and worried. He feared that he wouldn't be able to provide for his family, and every evening, he returned home with the weight of that worry on his shoulders. Ezin, ever supportive, tried to comfort him. "Don't worry, my husband," she would say softly. "God's time is the best. We just need to be patient." Obinna wanted to believe her. He wanted to trust that things would get better if they waited for the right time. But it was hard to be hopeful when every day seemed to bring more struggle. Despite his hard work, nothing seemed to improve. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, but Obinna still felt trapped in the same cycle of difficulty and disappointment. One particularly hot day, as Obinna sat at his stall in the market, he felt more rejected than ever. His meat wasn't selling, and the sun beat down on him mercilessly. His clothes were soaked with sweat, and flies buzzed around the meat that lay unsold on his counter. Obinna rested his head in his hands, feeling utterly defeated. He was starting to lose hope. Just then, he heard someone call his name. "Obinna, is that you?" Obinna looked up and saw a man approaching him. It was Chuka, an old friend from his youth. Obinna hadn't seen Chuka in many years, and the man looked very different now. He wore expensive clothes, a gold watch gleamed on his wrist, and he walked with the confidence of someone who had made it in life. Obinna, in his dirty clothes, felt a pang of embarrassment. "Chuka!" Obinna exclaimed, forcing a smile. "What are you doing here?" "I'm visiting my family," Chuka said with a grin. "But look at you, still selling meat after all these years. How's business going?" Obinna didn't want to lie to his old friend. "It's hard, Chuka," he admitted. "There are so many butchers in the market, and I can barely make enough to feed my family." Chuka's smile faded, and his expression became serious. "I'm sorry to hear that, my friend," he said. "But maybe I can help you. I know someone who might be able to change your life." Obinna was surprised. "Really? Who?" Chuka leaned in close, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "There's a powerful herbalist in the next village," he said. "He has helped many people become rich. Maybe he can help you too." Obinna's heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. He had heard stories about herbalists. Some said they had the power to make people rich, while others warned that their magic was dangerous. "I don't know, Chuka," Obinna said cautiously. "Is it safe?" Chuka gave him a reassuring smile and put a hand on his shoulder. "Look at me," he said. I went to see him last year, and now I'm doing very well. Just think about it. Chuka wrote down the herbalist's address on a piece of paper and handed it to Obinna. If you want to go, here's where to find him, he said. Then, with a wave, he said goodbye and disappeared into the crowd. Obinna stared at the piece of paper in his hand. Could this herbalist really be the answer to his prayers? Could this be the way to give his family a better life? That night, as he lay in bed, Obinna couldn't stop thinking about the herbalist. He tossed and turned, unable to sleep. He knew that Ezin would never approve. She always said that they should trust in God's timing. But maybe, Obinna thought, he had waited long enough. Maybe it was time to take matters into his own hands. For the next few days, Obinna kept a piece of paper tucked in his pocket, taking it out from time to time to look at the address. He prayed for guidance, asking God to show him the right path. But no clear answer came. Finally, after another long day in the market where he barely made any sales, Obinna made up his mind. He would visit the herbalist. Before dawn the next morning, Obinna left for the next village. He didn't tell Ezin where he was going. The walk was long, and as he made his way down the dusty road, Obinna began to have second thoughts. Was he doing the right thing? What would Ezin think if she knew? But with every step, he reminded himself of his struggles, of his son's school fees, and of the life he wanted to give his family. He couldn't turn back now. When he finally reached the village, Obinna found the herbalist hut at the edge of town. The small hut looked strange, with symbols painted on the walls and the smell of herbs and smoke filling the air. Obinna's heart pounded in his chest as he knocked on the door. An old man with bright, piercing eyes opened the door. "I've been expecting you," the herbalist said in a rough voice. Obinna was startled. "How did you know my name?" The herbalist smiled but didn't answer. He gestured for Obinna to come inside. The inside of the hut was dark and filled with strange objects, jars of liquid, dried plants hanging from the ceiling, and symbols drawn on the walls. Obinna felt a chill run down his spine. "You want to be rich," the herbalist said, not as a question, but as a statement. Obinna nodded, his throat dry. "Yes," he said. "Can you help me?" The old man smiled again, his yellow teeth glinting in the dim light. "I can," he said. "But everything has a price. Are you willing to pay it?" Obinna thought of his family, of Ezin's hopeful words, and of his son's future. "Yes," he said. "I'll do whatever it takes." The herbalist's eyes seemed to glow. "Good," he said. "I will give you something that will make you very rich. But in return, your wife will suffer. For every success you have, she will lose something, her ability to walk, to see, or to speak." Obinna's heart dropped. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. "No," he said, shaking his head. "I can't do that to Ezin." The herbalist shrugged. "Then go home," he said, his voice cold. "Stay poor. But remember, your son needs school fees." Obinna turned to leave but hesitated. He had waited for God's time, but nothing had changed. Maybe, just maybe, he could make enough money quickly and find a way to fix everything later. With a heavy heart, Obinna agreed to the deal. The herbalist performed a strange ceremony, muttering incantations as he walked. Then he handed Obinna a small charm. "Keep this in your pocket," the herbalist said. "It will bring you wealth. But remember, everything comes at a price." Obinna left the hut, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. When he returned to the market, he quickly realized that the herbalist's magic was real. Customers began flocking to his store, buying up all his meat. Day after day, Obinna sold out of his stock, earning more money than he ever had before. For the first time in his life, he had enough to pay his son's school fees and buy nice things for his family. But then, strange things started happening to Ezin. One morning, Ezin woke up and couldn't feel her left hand. A few days later, her right leg became weak, and she struggled to walk. Obinna knew what was happening. It was the price he had agreed to pay. But he couldn't bring himself to tell Ezin the truth. He hoped that if he made enough money, he could fix everything later. As Obinna's wealth grew, people in the village began to whisper about him. How had the poor butcher suddenly become so rich? Some villagers believed he was involved in something dark. Obinna, who had once been respected, now found himself the subject of suspicion and gossip. Meanwhile, Ezin's health continued to decline. Ezin, confused and frightened by her worsening condition, asked Obinna if they should see a doctor. But Obinna always made excuses. The guilt weighed heavily on him, and he found it harder and harder to look Ezin in the eye. Obinna bought a big house, expensive clothes, and fine furniture, but none of it brought him happiness. Every time he looked at Ezin, sitting in a chair unable to walk, his heart filled with regret. He had gained wealth, but he had lost the most important thing, his wife's health. One day, as Obinna was selling meat in the market, he overheard two women talking. "Did you hear about Ezin?" one woman asked. "She very sick. And look at Obinna, getting richer while his wife suffers. It's not right." Obinna's stomach churned with guilt. He closed the store early and rushed home. When he arrived, he found Ezin sitting by the window, her face pale and tired. "My wife," Obinna said softly. "I'm so sorry." Ezin turned to him, her voice weak. "What do you mean?" Obinna knelt beside her, tears filling his eyes. He couldn't hold it in any longer. He told Ezin everything, the herbalist, the curse, and how their wealth had come at the cost of her health. At first, Ezin was furious. She tried to shout at him, but her voice was too weak. Then, she started to cry, and Obinna cried too. "I thought I could fix it," he said. "I thought if I made enough money, I could find a way to make you better. But I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Can you ever forgive me?" Ezin didn't answer for a long time. Finally, she nodded slowly. "I forgive you," she said in a soft, strained voice. "But what will we do now?" Obinna stood up, determination in his eyes. "I'm going back to the herbalist," he said. "I'll make him undo this curse." The next morning, Obinna returned to the herbalist's hut. "Please," Obinna begged. "Undo the curse. I'll give you all my money, just make my wife well again." The herbalist shook his head. "It's not that simple," he said. "The curse can be broken, but there's a price." "What price?" Obinna asked. "I'll pay anything." The herbalist's eyes gleamed. "You can take your wife's place," he said. "Her illness will pass to you, and she will be healthy again. But you will be crippled." Without hesitation, Obinna agreed. The herbalist handed him a small bottle of liquid. "Give this to your wife," he said. "When she drinks it, her illness will pass to you." But when Obinna returned home, he made a decision. He couldn't let Ezin suffer any longer. Without telling her, he drank the liquid himself. A sharp, excruciating pain shot through Obina's body. He fell to the ground, unable to move. At the same time, Ezin, who had been weak and frail for months, suddenly stood up. "Obina," she cried. "What have you done?" Obina smiled weakly. "I've made things right." From that day on, Ezin's health was restored, but Obina was crippled. Their wealth quickly disappeared as they spent all their money on doctors, trying to find a cure for him. They sold their big house and moved back to their small home. Obina could no longer work as a butcher, and times were hard again. But something had changed. Even though they were poor once more, Obina felt a peace he hadn't felt in a long time. He had Ezin's health and their family, and that was all that mattered. One day, Ezin suggested they visit the church. Obina, now in a wheelchair, agreed. The pastor prayed for them, and during the prayer, Obina felt warmth spread through his body. Slowly, he found he could move his fingers, then his hands, and then his legs. By the end of the prayer, he was standing on his own 2 feet. "God has given you a second chance," the pastor said. "Use it wisely." From that day on, Obina's life changed once more. He returned to being a butcher, but this time, he was honest and content with what he earned. He and Ezin worked together at the store, and their reputation in the village was restored. People began to trust them again, and Obina found joy in the simple things. Years passed, and though Obina and Ezin never became rich again, they were happy. They had enough to live on, and their son did well in school. They even had a daughter, whom they named Blessing, for they felt she was a gift from God. Whenever Obina told his story, he shared the lesson he had learned: money isn't everything. Family, honesty, and doing the right thing, that's the real wealth in life. And as he sat with Ezin one evening, watching the sunset, Obina knew he was truly rich. Not with money, but with love, family, and peace of mind, things that were worth far more than all the riches in the world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe our channel.